Well, welcome back to Krown's Crypto Cave. It is a lovely Sunday morning over here from Helsinki, Finland. Bright and sunny ever since fucking midnight, actually. And how do I know that? Because I actually woke up at that time. But it's all good. I got a full night of sleep. And we are looking at the exact same range as Bitcoin as we were yesterday. So that actually does start to move the ball a little bit more forwards as far as the short-term and medium-term analysis goes. But of course, as always, well, not necessarily as always, but for the last month and a half or so, high-term time frame analysis, more or less the same. We'll be covering that in this video, of course, just because it is a Sunday and there's really not too much else to be doing. And other than that, I do want to take a second to wish you the best and the happiest of the happiest. Once again, I wake up, look at Twitter, and I just want to remind myself, just put some good shit out there, because why the fuck not? Hopefully it can help in some way. And Jesus Christ, man, looking at all the things going around in the world, well, at least we have each other here. Anyways, that's your positive message of the day. No, your positive message of the day is that no one's coming to save you, which is actually going to be a big topic of my new mindset channel, which I'll probably start uploading to maybe around my birthday. Anyways, okay, on top of that, I do want to say Krown Trading application can be found at app.krowntrading.net. It is free and it is there for your taking. There was no update this week, by the way. But still looking at the open interest read over here, we're still caught in that range. I still need to see the same things there. Either break below the low side of the range at 1.5 billion or a break above the high side of the range. In this current range for the high term time frames would be about 1.7.5 billion, plus a break on price action of the relevant regions as well. To the upside about 9,900, to the downside about 8,900-ish region, maybe collapsing a little bit on one of those sides, which we'll look at in just a second here. But still, you know, at the end of the day, this is very experimental information. So because, you know, it's quite literally novel right now. We don't know of anyone else doing the same sort of thing. And the people who are, the problem that we found is that their data feeds seem to have some very interesting reads that aren't necessarily consistent with the ones that we've done. So I have a massive amount of respect for actual data miners now. I understand that that's not so easy. It's certainly not an easy endeavor. Anyways, what else do you want to talk about? Well, Bitcoin dominance, same. Total market cap, same. Fear and greed index, mostly the same. Couple ticks up there. Other than that, I will be on. I should say that I will be on my my gaming channel later today. If you are interested in such things, please do feel free to check it on out at Total Krown. There'll be a link in the comment section below. If you're interested in like strategy games or Total War series, that would be a damn good place to hang out. Of course, if that isn't you, all good. But if you do feel like you want to support, then massive appreciation for that as well, as I'm really excited about that. Anyways, yeah, all right, let's go look at some price action running over here and see what we got going on. So I want to start it off with the daily, as always. And what did the daily do yesterday? Quite literally nothing. A range of about $150 from 93.30 to 9,500-ish region. We did get the test up to the 9,500-ish region that we were looking for yesterday, and then no break was had above there, even on a short-term time frame. So Bitcoin goes back into normality, and essentially the same sort of analysis actually applies, at least from my own side. But now, because Bitcoin has once again brushed up against it, but failed to actually close above it on a you know, on at the very least a 4-hour, but of course a daily as well. Doesn't really give us all that much to do for yesterday, as it was typically a Saturday, but it actually does likely give us a nice little edge here for Sunday, when CMEs probably open up a little bit later at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. Sometime between then and in tomorrow morning's New York Stock Exchange open, I would say that we're actually gearing up for quite a nice move here, as historical volatility percentile on the daily is completely contracted all the way down to a triple one read, 3 ones in a row, which means that this is a massive outlier in terms of volatility, historically speaking. That's kind of the name. But realistically, what it's telling you is that this is in the first percentile of volatility for the last 100 days look back, is what is the period that I'm looking at right here. Now, of course, the greater perspective on this is saying that we're still kind of very likely operating in a very long-term macro consolidation, or sorry, not consolidation, but contraction phase that started off on that last major dump from early March down to about 4,400-ish region. So to me, that is still in the like very high short-term time frame range, or what I've been referring to as macro range, above 11,500 or below about 6,900 is where that correlates with, and it would suggest that we likely have a resolution on that somewhere around here when it's about 75% full. That is when it's statistically likely to, pretty much break out. Doesn't mean that it's going to, but statistically speaking, I would put my money there. It doesn't give us direction either, though. Now, what is interesting about this, and to keep in mind about this, is that the moving average on this is still maintaining a pretty negative slope, a very intense negative slope, actually, which, to be fair, is likely going to suggest that the next spike up that we get coming in from this one read right here likely does meet this trend line. So I actually would be looking for the next high or low being put in correlation with the test on this trend line for the daily historical volatility percentile with my settings. Now, to give us an idea of what to expect when you are operating off of this low reads on historical volatility percentile on a daily, nonetheless, the last time that we had something similar representing this in history for Bitcoin was back here in middle of September of 2019. If I remind myself where exactly Bitcoin was during this time, it was actually at about 10,300 in this portion right here, completing this ascending triangle actually to the downside, which initially dumped down about $2,000 and then got continuation for another 1,000 down to the mid 6,000. So we're talking about a multi-$1,000 move here, and realistically, I mean, ends up going all the way down to 4,400 after that, but that's months later. I wouldn't necessarily say that those 2 points are related there. Although, although when we do get these low of reads on Bitcoin historical volatility percentile, we are looking at a macro, typically reversal actually, because the time before that Bitcoin actually did have the same sort of read was actually back on over here, a 3-month long consolidation or contraction phase during end of 2018, beginning of 2019 in the low 3,000s. We get extremely low right on over here, and what does that lead up into? That leads up into a massive move from 4,000 to 14,000 months later, but more immediately, a couple $1,000 move to the upside in the mid 5,000s, and then 6,000 about a week later, it looks like. So that's my point, is that we are gearing up for a pretty damn big move here. And typically speaking, when we are looking at historical volatility percentile that has this low of a read on a daily time frame for Bitcoin specifically, that is going to be what we look for as a new macro behavior, essentially. So hold on, let me make sure that I got that idea out properly. It doesn't always mean that it's going to be a reversal. As you can see, well, actually, no, this one was a reversal right here, and this one was a reversal right here. Are they all reversals, actually, when we get this low? It's pretty fucking close to it. Hold on, I want to find if there's a continuation phase from when we get this low. Let's do a little bit of a deep dive here, and you can see me do this raw right now. I've obviously not prepared for this, but looking at this area right here, May 18th, nope, that's a reversal on that high. Okay, very interesting. This area right here, let's see, 31st of August, that was reversal down to this area right here, continuation of greater trend though. This area right in over here, reversal, was it a reversal? No, this was continuation to the upside. Okay, so we do have one continuation read right here and one right here as well. Interesting. Okay, but for the most part, they actually have been reversals, funnily enough. But nah, if Bitcoin is trending hard, then yes, we will see it just continue. Okay, so that's not, oh, motherfucker, I just got rid of it. God fucking damn it. Sorry about that. And enjoy my my autistic outrages there. Let's put this back on. Motherfucker, where do my beautiful colors go? You goddamn bastard. Bully, you have zero taste in colors, my friend. Just kidding. Well, seriously. But you have the maths, which is what matters more. Anyways, all right, so this is obviously not right either. Maybe it's different settings here. Yeah, let's do length. Let's do 10, 100. Something like that. Does that look about right? Nope, that doesn't look right either. Huh, it must be a different one of my indicators. I'll have to figure this one out later because, well, I can probably figure it out right now. Let's see. Where is it? Oh, that's an invite only. That's why. Okay, here we go. Alrighty. Yes, this one right here. It's gotta be. It's gotta be, yeah. Muted colors, but that's okay. That is okay. Okay, whoops, wrong one. Okay, there we go. Alrighty, cool. Okay, alrighty, and okay, cool. I'll deal with that later. But overall, yes, that's kind of what I'm looking for here, as this is calling up for a multi-$1,000 move from this price point here. Now, of course, it does not imply direction. For right now, Bitcoin is, from a pattern trader's perspective, bullish, as we are putting in a nice ascending triangle right here. Volume signature would confirm this. We have that nice tailing off volume from left to right. So I do put, if I am gonna be a pattern trader, which I'm not, but it's good to have confluence influence here, I would say that that would be the first read on this. The volume signature actually matches up with that rather well. Of course, it's also an uptrend as well, as Bitcoin does have higher highs and higher lows, which is actually quite nice. And we are going to see that do we have anything else that's obvious here? We are going to see perhaps a little bit of no hidden hidden bullish divergence here, close on a daily, but is it true on a 12-hour? No, it's actually not going to be true there on a 12-hour either. Huh, interesting. So I guess the highest time frame that we have hidden bullish divergence on is perhaps a 4-hour or a 6-hour, which is a little bit muted itself. So overall, going down into lower term timeframes now, with keeping that sort of piece of information in the back of my mind's eye, looking for that next big move, that does mean that it's the big areas for completing or destroying this pattern formation are going to take on a much more enhanced meaning, as it's likely to propel a lot more price action on top of that. So to the downside, as we've been saying, it's pretty much the same thing. This rising trend line right here coming in at those higher lows, which would be correlated directly with the 236 Fibonacci retracement right here, right around 8,900-ish region. As long as that area is holding, I still do look at this as an ascending triangle. And by the way, this ascending triangle does have an apex coming in, actually quite some time from now. Funnily enough, this would be August 2020. I would feel quite confident saying that it's likely to break outside of this range before that. Then again, you never know. You never fucking know. But more importantly right here, so as long as Bitcoin's above this area right here, I look at this as still an ascending triangle. As long as it's below this area right here, I look at it as an ascending triangle that's unresolved to the upside. Now, just because it's an ascending triangle, does that mean that it's always going to break out to the upside? Fuck no, it's not. In fact, I've seen every pattern break out every way that it's quote unquote not supposed to. It only just gives a nice edge. And in this part right here, it actually does give us a relatively reasonable measured move, which I do find a lot of efficacy on these for triangular formations and flag formations, not so much the more ephemeral ones. I really want to separate myself from like the more diabolical pattern traders, because I just don't really see like the fucking inverted elf shoe butterfuck do all that much often. If it has a name like that, it's probably not good enough to be putting risk on, at least for myself. Triangles, though, I found work pretty damn well in Bitcoin land. And one of my friends, quant firms, actually did a statistical analysis study on this, and they found that about a little bit over 70% of triangles actually do get completed, which is a good edge, to be fair. That's compared to like, the most of them, which actually have like around a 30%, sometimes even as low as 20% in Bitcoin land specifically. Now, that's not to say that's the same thing for other markets, but in Bitcoin, yes, that's what they have found, and he's been pretty damn consistent. So fair enough. Anyways, as far as this goes right here, short-term time frame range is more or less the same. Still looking at 9,500 for the gatekeeper for another move into the fuckboy range, likely back up to at the very least somewhere between 97 and 9,800-ish region if Bitcoin can close a 4-hour dildo above 9,500. I also believe that even if Bitcoin just takes out the high of not yesterday, but the 12th of June, 2 days ago, Friday's high, at 95.52.87 on GDAXs, we'll very likely see that move happen as well, back up to the 9,800-ish region. But that doesn't really do too much for me other than that, because Bitcoin gets too close to this to this liquid zone over here, which is correlated with the upside breakout of this ascending triangle, which is where things actually get interesting. So for right now, as I search for my whatever's under my feet. So for right now, if Bitcoin did move back above there, I do think that that's good enough for a little bit of an edge. It's a 3% move, or a little bit more than a 3% move, which is definitely tradable. But in this region right here, the margins are too close for me to really care until we actually get back above at the very least 9,900 on a 12-hour 4-hour closure. Obviously, higher time frame is going to be better, but I do think that a 4-hour gets it very, very likely, and then we can talk about fulfilling the mesh move off of this ascending triangle to the upside, which actually points a little bit north of 11,000. That is a very interesting prospect, just because it would imply a new higher high above the last weekly high in early February, actually right here. And from a volume profile standpoint, you can also see that would be a little bit of a change of behavior here, as well as the volume profile really thins out above that region, which suggests that we're likely to get sucked up into the next area of relatively higher value nodes, which in this case, we don't really have such things actually. The area above there, that's most relevant, would be 11,500, as you can see, as things really just take another massive tail off above there as well. So it does suggest that there's a massive change of behavior above there. And that's why I do say that I really can't get super macro fucking gung-ho Krown runs with bulls bullish until Bitcoin gets back above 11,500 on a weekly closing base. If it can do that, it'll have done something that it hasn't done in almost 3 years, in January 2018. And then yes, I'd be targeting moves towards 14,000, 16,000, 20,000, maybe beyond. We'll get to that bridge when we cross it. But for right now, Bitcoin getting stuck at this level right here is a little bit of a precarious place, because while it is setting up rather well, and I do think that it is going to give another try to the upside here, probably sometime this week, and looking at volatility, historic volatility percentile, it very likely has a good chance to actually, fulfill these moves. If Bitcoin were to confirm another high right here, this would be yet again another macro lower high in a series of macro lower highs in what is really starting to take the form, if that were to happen. If that were to happen, and we'll talk about the triggering point for that in just a second, but if that were to happen, this would really start to look like the death throes of the Republic, which is a term that is coined by, I don't know if it's coined by Dan Carlin, but I'm a massive hardcore history fan, and it does feel that way. These lower highs are very reminiscent of, pick your fucking poison over here. Let's go pick on the Ripple Me Nipples crew. This is the dead heartbeat chart, and it's exactly what it sounds like. This is lifeless. This is what the chart really looks like. You put it on log scale, and that makes you feel better about yourself. But realistically, it's the linear scale that you want to be using, because at this point, most of the price action, except for this outlier right here, is in a range between about half buck and a little bit less than a quarter. So realistically, this is what the chart really is right here. Just get rid of this bullshit, because that was in one of the most insane parabolic bull markets that I've ever seen in my life. Well, it's definitely the most parabolic that I've seen in my life. Of course, it's just we're talking about like the history of fucking markets. That was historic, actually. Anyways, and that goes for just about all cryptocurrencies. So realistically, what I'm saying, the picture that I'm painting here is that we really, for Bitcoin's long-term efficacy, really don't want to put in another lower high right here. It's just at some point there is going to be, there is going to be too much of time taken. Now, of course, it would also, it would also really help out a bearish case if we actually put in a lower low here on a weekly as well. Now, in order to do that, we need to actually break the 200 simple at the very least, which is currently rising up to about 6,000 now even. So I do like that area, especially from like a long-term perspective. That's where we kind of got stuck at for pretty much all of 2018. Nice volume profile built up there as well. So, as long as we're above that, it's probably not what's happening. But I would say, going back down to low-term timeframes right over here, that if Bitcoin does break to the downside on this, what is being built as an ascending, or painted as is an ascending triangle right now, I would be looking for some pretty nasty downside moves. That being, again, with a break of 8,900 on at the very least a 12-hour, preferably a daily close below there, below the 236, or a 4-hour total closure below the last prior low that we have here on 24th, 25th of May at about 8,700, or just a wick below this low side wick on this consolidation, which is 8632 spot 88. One of, or I think that was like 4 different things right there. One of 4 of those all would be good enough for me to target a move at the very least down to the 0.5 here at 7,500. That would actually fulfill this move. With bounces along the way, very likely probably around the 382, and while I do think that things could actually bottom here, it's a 618 that I'd actually really be looking for, and below the 618 is when things start to really take like a more problematic turn for the macro series once again, and that's when we could probably start to talk about breaking back down below 6,000 and retesting some $3,000 lows, and then Bitcoin looks like one not just lower highs, and not just making lower highs over the last almost 3 years now, but now starting to look like a descending triangle, over a very long period of time. And does it probably play out another anemic bounce off after that? Yeah, but it's probably just going to be another lower high. So we are kind of getting towards crunch time here. If you're looking at this from like a 5-year perspective, I suppose, as really don't want to see Bitcoin take too much longer with these kind of like just failed rallies. At the end of the day, you can't be failing all of your rallies for the eternity of your life if you're trying to become the world reserve currency or just a store of value to begin with. Anyways, looking at this right here, Bitcoin still is maintaining all major moving averages in a more or less bullish setup. However, that will change around probably early this week if Bitcoin fails to get back above 9,500. We will see the 10 symbol cross the downside once again. Although I don't really put too much weight on it as it is right now. Realistically, we can also see that the green 55 exponential moving average right here is pretty much in line with the last spike low that we saw. I do think that Bitcoin could very easily test that, but as you can see, it's pretty much in line with our rising trend line from the last few lows. And in fact, it actually has some pretty damn good confluence there. It's a little bit more aggressive though to the upside. So I'd more so create a liquid zone between the 55 and in this horizontal right here between the 236 at that low 8,900 region, or yes, 8,900 region. I don't know why my brain farted right there. And I am recording and my microphone's working as well, so that's good because we're already 20 minutes in. So that would have been really annoying to re-record this one. Anyways, we could also very likely use the low side of the 11th of June's daily dildo at 92.27 for a continuation drive to the downside of this region as well. So here's the thing. I know I'm jumping around a little bit from time frame to time frame. I apologize. I had way too much coffee this morning, but feels good, man. Feels fucking good as I empty out all my bowels from my neck down. It's beautiful. But here's the thing. So just like Bitcoin breaking back above 9,500 on like a 2-hour or 4-hour dildo closure, it very likely does get a move back up to 9,800-ish region at the very least, but it doesn't do anything for me for the macro break, or not the macro, but the high term time frame breakout above this region right here. To the downside, if we were to break back down below this level, let's just call it 92.50 because it's just easier to round off right there. Or even just take out the low side wick of that 11th of June dildo, then I would be looking for a move back down into this region right here. And not until we actually break below this level on one of the timeframes that we described earlier would actually really be looking for the next big massive move to the downside. So here's the thing, putting all the puzzle pieces together, seeing that we do have a massive contraction phase on daily historical volatility percentile, we can realistically think that it's rather likely that we will see a big break outside of this range probably this week. That next spike in historical volatility percentile should be good enough to actually take it down. Now, here's the thing. Bitcoin does have a damn good history of playing out these triangular formations, and I would say that all of the macro reversals, I believe all of the macro reversals have come in the formation of a counter trend triangle, essentially. So on this one right here, we have an ascending triangle, right? On this one right here, we kind of have it's not really an ascending triangle, but we just have kind of like higher lows and higher highs, so it's kind of an uptrend, quite nice. Maybe you could say it's more aggressive in the low term time frames. We could probably find one there, but this one over here, very obviously an ascending triangle on the lows before that massive reversal. This one over here, a nice ascending triangle on the lows before continuation of the downside. This one over here at the $20,000 high, you could fit a nice descending triangle in there. A little bit ugly, but definitely could do it. And then back on over in, do we have an ascending triangle here in 2014, 2015? I believe we have something similar to that. We do have higher lows coming in from this low right here and this low right here. And we have about the same highs right here. It's not necessarily a perfect descending triangle, but it's damn close. Descending triangle right here on this reversal, descending triangle on this reversal right here, ascending triangle right here if you were to get rid of that wick. And yeah, so overall, Bitcoin does have a pretty damn good hit rate with that, especially on a higher term time frame like the daily is for Bitcoin. So I would say that, from a pattern trader's perspective, yes, it's still very much in there that this is a bullish ascending triangle, which means that it's just more likely to break out to the upside. Doesn't mean it's destined to break out to the upside. Still need to see it break above those critical zones. Let's see. I've even looked at the low term time frame oscillators right here. 4-hour Stokes are, okay, first off, historical volatility percentile is incredibly low here as well. So now we're seeing high term time frames and low term time frames match up. That's usually when you do get those moves. I want to see this get a slightly negative slope, and then once it kind of comes back down somewhere around the 20 to 30 marker on the moving average, probably do get that move actually. It's just going to be, sucked up. Looking at the 4-hour Stokes right here, we do have a nice ascending trend line coming in right here, and we also do see that it is healthily erect to the upside. downside. And where does this trend line come in around? It comes in around the edge of the bullish control zone. So I would say that it's, you know, we're likely to test around this region, but does Bitcoin actually get above the critical range that actually matters for the short-term time frames before then? I just let price action tell me what to do. I don't necessarily have to put my opinion on that one. 3 hour is going to show pressure down right now, and it will. Sorry, let's actually look at the reverse Stochastic cross. 3 hour is going to show pressure down as long as Bitcoin is closing 3 hour deltas below 94.31. Let's go back to the 4 hour and check with this one. Yeah, 4 hour momentum remains the upside as long as we're closing 4 hour deltas above about 9,400. So we do see bifurcation here, by the way. And the range is tightening quite a bit here coming into early Sunday. 2 hours going to show pressure down as well. Or sorry, no. It's actually technically up right now. Very interesting actually. That looks a little bit better right there. Will cross back down if it closes below 94.30-ish region, and the hourly is showing downwards pressure. Oh my God, they're literally all within about $50 of each other at 94.50-ish region. Let's go back to the 12-hour and daily. I'm curious what these guys say right now. Yeah, so 12-hour Stokes are technically down right now, of course. And let me see, do we have anything of note here? Maybe this comes into play. We actually do have 3 tests, which does typically make a trend. So perhaps that is worth keeping an eye on. But more importantly, 12-hour Stokes will remain to the downside, meaning momentum to the downside as long as Bitcoin's below 9,400. So once again, we see all these lining up with each other, essentially at 9,400. So Bitcoin needs to maintain these 4 hour and lower closes above 9,400 in order to still have a more threat posturing of breaking back above 9,500 on those momentum reads. That's essentially what I'm looking at right now. So fair enough. Looking at the daily, I'm curious what this one says as well. In fact, the daily and the 12 are pretty much in the same area. So the next turn, the next twist of the daily Stokes and 12-hour Stokes probably come on the same move, to be fair. And it's probably going to be an even more impressive move is what that suggests as well. Now, of course, right now for the daily, daily Stokes will show momentum down as long as we're closing below 9,800. So that's a pretty damn big area, by the way. But more importantly, it just shows that the daily has a lot more work to do. And it's really not until we get back above 9,800, and I would even argue 9,900, where Bitcoin once again is in a good posturing for actually breaking the top side of this, and well, once again, a little bit of glory times, I'd imagine, as Bitcoin then would initiate that move to 11,000. And personally speaking, I don't really, probably has ebbs and flows, probably, a little bit of a sell-off on the retest of 10.5, maybe even again after this measure move's met as well. But realistically, I'd be looking for things to go up to 11,500, within like a week or two of that read, and then go from there. Probably going to look pretty damn good though, because that would really be the first like higher high that we have on a weekly for the last 3 years, almost 3 years, I should say. Anyways, let's take this off for right now, and let's go check out the daily Joule. So the daily Joule did give a pretty damn good sell signal last week, which I'm humbled by once again, and I fucking hate that indicator, but anytime that I disagree with it, it's here's a good edge. Anytime that Krown disagrees with the Joule, Krown's always wrong. 0% of being right every time, every fucking time, and I don't learn my lesson. But you can. There's a great saying, a smart person learns from their own mistakes. So I'm not smart, and a wise person learns from the mistakes of others. So apparently there's a lot of wise people in this community, because a lot of people were talking about that signal and we're taking it. So credit to you, and I want to, I think it's important to acknowledge, and that's awesome. I'm happy for you, sincerely. Just fucking use the tools, right? Anyways, more importantly, just another constant reminder to myself that when it comes to a game of statistics, well, you're better off playing on the statistical, on the more relevant side, always, fucking always, especially if you have a 0% hit rate. Jesus, man, fucking Jesus. Anyways, we haven't looked at the 2-day or the 3-day. 2-day still maintaining closures above the 21. I still do kind of like the 2-day chart, as the 2-day still has all major moving averages with a positive slope. And more importantly, anytime that we've seen, let's actually talk a little bit more in depth about this right now. We have time here, so might as well go a little bit more in depth. Let's get rid of this one. let's focus on two major crosses here. First and foremost is going to be the white 200 simple and the yellow 21 exponential moving average. Anytime that we see this cross, generally good things happen. Back on over here, very, 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 very lovely, getting the move all the way from about 6,000 to 14,000. Back on over here, telling you to play to the downside all the way through from 7,000, 8,000 down to 3,000. Before that, going back on all the way into 2014, 2015, we need to do log scale just so we can see this. We see that this actually got the last major switch up and bull trap to the downside, by the way, as well. Not only that, but looking at the golden cross on top of that, we can say that anytime that we have the golden cross plus this cross, there's no name for this cross, by the way. That's when Bitcoin typically does have pretty impressive moves. I mean, the last one again was this guy right here. This was a 2x after that signal was given. By the same token, it gets a death cross right here, gets the bearish cross right here. And so from that high signal to the next low, 56% down. Then we can go back to the signal before that was this guy right in over here. I mean, this one's just going to be stupid high because this was the run from 300 to 20,000, 6,000%. And then this one right in over here. Again, another relatively similar signal, actually, giving you this high right here, get to the next low, about 61%, 62% down. Then where is our last signal before that? Well, pretty much the whole way through. So doesn't really help much more than that. But I just want to show that, this is typically a very bullish major moving average setup, as we do see lower periods above higher periods, and we do see that all of the cross is happening on the same test essentially, and then it constructs higher lows on top of those while grabbing onto lower period moving averages as Bitcoin moves up. So it's basically telling me that the bots and algos are on the buy side and are supporting price action as it is right now, and seen as we do have like some perfect tests coming into this region. I actually do like that quite a bit. We can go over to the 3-day and see about the same thing, just different, different moving averages here, and then the weekly as well, which actually put quite a significant amount of weight on. And the reason why I do is because it's not too sexy to look at, but at the end of the day, the yellow 21 exponential moving average on the weekly, both the slope and Bitcoin's price, Bitcoin's relationship to whether it's above or below that major moving average has been the key ever since the genesis. Essentially, anytime that Bitcoin's above and it has a positive slope, that's your bull markets all the way from here to basically here. It doesn't tell you that it's a bull trap until this area right here. Now, of course, there's a 70% down right here, but that brings into perspective, like, are you a long-term trader or not? Does something like that matter to you or not? There's better tools for getting out of a trade like that, of course. Maybe go down to like a daily and look at divergences. It would be a damn good way to get that done. And then same thing right in over here, grabs back above it, and what do you know, just marches this way all the way upwards and onwards. Same thing to the downside in 2018, same thing to the upside in 2019, same thing to the downside in September 2019 once again. And then more recently, we do see that it's once again gotten a positive slope, retested it once, twice, and so far so good. We can take this one step further by adding on the 10 simple, which has just crossed the upside of the 21. So again, a lower period above a higher period. Now, we do get fake outs around this every once in a while, yes, but look at price action around here. It's actually rather far away from the cross itself. This one over here, a lot closer. We can consider this the last test down to that region, and this works both to the upside and the downside. Last example was back here in April 2019 before this massive move. Again, about 173% and change to the upside after that was given. This guy down here giving you this high, telling you to short there, 67% down off of that signal. And before that, back in 2015, we do see the same sort of thing right in over here. After switching that up 6,000%, I mean, that's not really fair to talk about. And then same thing over here on this move to the downside, another 60% to the downside. And then before that, probably not enough history to really go off of. Then we can take this even one step further on top of that. We can add on into the green 55 right here. And the 55 is also a pretty damn good signal as well. In fact, the 55 is like pretty damn good in just getting the overall feeling of Bitcoin, which people don't really talk about all that much, but it does actually get it pretty damn well. More importantly, with it, we do see we do see all lower periods trading above higher periods right here, and more importantly, they're getting divergence away from each other, and they will continue to naturally diverge even more, suggesting that the trend is strengthening to the upside as long as Bitcoin's closing these weeklies, especially above 9350-ish region. It looks like. So same thing here as well. Gets a switch up right here, gets a switch up right here, gets this switch down right here, gets a switch down right here. It's just, higher period moving averages, so they're going to be less reactive, saying that it's a bigger deal if they actually do cross. And when they all kind of cross together, well, that is the same thing that you see back on over here, actually. That's actually the last example that we have of them all crossing at the same time. Let's go over to the monthly as well. I think this is also very important to reflect on too while we are within this region. Well, I do think that Bitcoin could very easily come back down and fill last month's open at like 8,700, which would just be retesting the prior low. And, you know, we'll see if we actually close something significant below there or not. I'd still look at that as an opportunity, very likely. Momentum oscillators here, mommy oscillators with their chicken tendies are erect. Mom's erect. Looking at monthly Joule, it's giving you a hot or long signal, and looking at monthly RSI, it's acting okay here. It's looking constructive. It's neither bullish nor bearish, but it is technically constructive right there. Anytime that we've been above the exponential on the monthly RSI, it's been generally good. You can go all the way back here. Whoops, hey, get your fucking face in there. You know, you can go back all the way over here, calling January 2014 high, actually perfect on this test right here, telling you to long right here perfectly at 240 before the next major momentous move to the upside, telling you to get short here perfectly at 14,200 in January 2018, telling you to get long here in May 2019 before that major move to the upside. And then once again, we've kind of chopped around a little bit above it, but getting a few closes above it does postulate itself first and foremost as what's the word that I'm looking for? Constructive behavior, more or less good. Anyways, let's go look at another tool that I haven't really been looking at as of more recent times, but I actually haven't looked at it at all, so I don't really even know what it's going to say right here. But looking at the Bollinger Bands, we can see that Bollinger Bands are actually showing pressure down right now. We are obviously below the 20 simple moving average on this, but here's the thing. The 20 simple actually has a positive slope as it is right now, so it's not necessarily immediate pressure down. It's not until we flatten out, which would actually take a few days of kind of trading sideways here to downside, and then getting a negative slope where I'd actually be looking for a test to the downside of this region. But more importantly with this, you can see that it's collapsing on itself rather well. And if we put on the BBWs, which is not the same thing that you might find on XXX videos, but if you do use it on Bitcoin or any asset for that matter as an indicator, you can see that it's going to be measuring the Bollinger Band's width. And what's interesting about this is that we actually have been playing off this trend line for a long time, since November 2018, which, let me remind you, was after the 3,000 dump down around here. And we are actually playing off of it relatively well. So what do I mean by that? Well, anytime that we actually test this trend line, it's a big pivot on the market. So that called this low right here, called this low right here as well before $3,000 move to the upside, called this low right here before $3,000 move to the upside, called this low right here again. I mean, these are obviously like kind of the same accord, but getting the same move overall. Then once again, right on over here on this major high, so it's not always on lows, it can come on highs as well. And then this major breakout, this was a continuation phase right here as well. So again, it's not always reversal, it's just telling you big bad price action is coming. And then once again, we are back on that level. So we can extrapolate from both the historical volatility percentile and also Bollinger Band width that we are at an outlier of price action right now, which would suggest that we're going to be looking at a multi-$1,000 move. And a multi-$1,000 move from our current posturing is going to be good enough to break the range, whether it be to the downside at 8,900 or to the upside at 9,900. You know, Bitcoin has plenty of energy here to build up. So this is really the bull's chance, in my opinion, to march things upwards and onwards, and for Bitcoin to prove itself, especially when this is kind of like the perfect storm of all of the cryptocurrency anarchists' wet dreams that, you know, the U.S. government and pretty much all government, or not government, but all of the feds, you know, from their respective countries in the world are basically printing money out their bungholes. And what's Bitcoin doing? Fuck all. What's gold doing? Gold's actually doing pretty well here. So gold's actually acting like an asset that wants to go up more. In fact, I would still be bullish on gold. I think that this week's closure was very good. It probably trades back down to 1710 this week, but I'd be looking at that as an opportunity before giving another try towards 1800 plus. And you know, over these next few weeks, looks good. We don't really have anything to update on NASDAQ futures or E-mini futures. I do think that we are going to see some more downside there after a small bouncy bounce up to start this week. But I'm not bearish on those. I think downside, and then the downside actually becomes an opportunity probably somewhere around like the mid 280s for SPY, somewhere around like maybe as low as 93 or 9100 for Nasdaq there. Other than that, what else do we want to look at? Let's go look at total market cap. I'm curious what that's looking like. We haven't looked at this in a while. I usually don't really care too much for it. Looks pretty much the same shit as Bitcoin's chart. Momentum oscillators here are a little bit, they're still the same. Weekly Stoch's getting way up there, so again, it's it's kind of like using a lot of its energy right now, but still gonna have another try. Weekly RSI here is strange, huh? Very strange. Kind of putting in this this falling channel over a long period of time. We just tested the top side of it. Even putting in some no divergence there. Apologies, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Let's go check out Mr. Buteau really quick. I'm curious if he's looking, obviously in some, some type of way. Mr. Buteau looks a lot more bearish to me. This one looks a lot more obviously like a distribution at the top of this current run thus far, but I do think that Bitcoin is going to kind of take the pole position for now. I wouldn't get too bearish on Buteau though, as long as it's above 215, but I do think that it could very easily test down there if Bitcoin takes another stumble below 9250-ish region. Looking at what, I don't want to fucking look at Litecoin, it's bullshit. They're all mostly bullshit, of course. It's a very naive thing to say because there's going to be at least like one or two or maybe even more than that, like a handful of legitimate ones in a market of thousands of coins, but for the most part, not interested. Still don't have any clear reads on Bitcoin dominance. If anything, I guess I'd be bearish on this. Momentum oscillators are bearish here. Trend is bullish for now. I don't have a good read on this. I think I'll refrain from saying anything more. It's not wise thing to do right now. Need to wait and see on this one. I don't think that there's anything more to do other than that. Let's see. Maybe go do a quick check in on CMEs. CMEs still looking okay here. Same levels apply though. Same levels apply. See that the 55 is now above the last higher low that we see at about 8,800. So I do like that. CMEs would suggest that back above 97.20 though, we actually would be quite bullish once again and looking for that upside breakout. So CMEs actually might be able to get this one a little bit faster than spot price action. Interesting, very, very interesting contingency there. Let's go look at Bitcoin versus yen. Sometimes you do see some more obvious things here. Looks a little bit more droopy to myself in the short-term time frames. Taking out yesterday's low at about, what is that, 1,006,000 or 100. Whatever that number is, the low of yesterday, if that gets taken out, I'd be looking for a backfill of 11th of June. Bitcoin versus Won, same thing. They're all the same fucking chart. We used to be able to see like some more obvious things in like the yen chart. It would show, moves a little bit before they happened, but not anymore, not any longer. Let's go put everything else on. Get naked on these charts. Yeah, I don't really have much to add on to it other than that. Things do look like they want to come back down and swipe around like 9250-ish region in the short term. Go back to spot price action right here for Bitcoin, and let's go check out the expected moves chart with regards to where we are right now. It's 42 minutes. What the fuck? What the actual fuck, man? It's the same shit here. It's the same shit here. Okay, so here's what I'd be looking at. I'd still use 8,900 to the downside just because it is better to be more conservative with these areas, especially if it is going to be counter to the general trend right now. By the way, this momentum oscillator right here going to be breaking this trend line, so it looks like that is not going to be the right way to be using this anyways, and I should know that because it didn't work in the past either. But more importantly, looking at this right here and just focusing directly on this pane, we can use the same areas as yesterday. Above target probability for 9,900 is going to be about a little bit less than 17%. Below target probability, 8,900 that is 9.5%. But remember, that correlates with the high term time frame breakout, which is very likely to spin off another multi-$1,000 move. For right now, we could go just as equally down to the very low term time frames. Look at 9,500 and look at let's just use 9250. I think. Hey, what the fuck? What is OST, sir? What are you doing? Why is my computer going all kinds of crazy right now? We'll do something like that. All right, hold on. That's why. my okay, that was very trippy. Hard to explain what just happened, but my monitor was like, the button was getting hidden. It was just trying to like cycle through all these different things. Like, what the fuck? So we can look at the very low term time frame range and put it on a 4 hour. And this is going to be the 9,500 area to the upside and the 9,250 area to the downside. Obviously, since Bitcoin's a lot closer to the 9,500ish region, it's going to have a much higher percentage or probability to close above on the next 4 hour digital closure, which actually happens in 1 hour and 36 minutes. So by the time that I post this, you'll already know. 33%, which is really fucking high, versus 8% to the downside, essentially. And that downside, you know, is a little bit less interesting to me as well, because it's about a $300 delta between 9,250 and 8,900ish region. A little bit more than that, but fair enough. So not really enough meat on the bones for me to trade that, anyways. So yeah, anyways, I think that is gonna do it for that. You know, wrapping up the short-term timeframes once again, 4 hour or 2 hour dildo closure above 9,500 very likely does beget continuation all the way up to 9,800. It's kind of the fuckboy scary range though, because at that point, you know, technically if Bitcoin does top out there again, it's just going to be another lower high, and that'd be your first major warning signal, I think, that Bitcoin is going to break this to the downside overall. But of course, it's not until Bitcoin actually breaks back down below 8,900 on a 12 hour or daily where I really start to look for that to happen. In fact, we can make a nice liquid zone there now. Let's do this. There we go. By the same token, 9,250 to the downside on a 2 hour or 4 hour total closure likely gets that next $300, $400 move to the downside in this region right here. Could also use Wix, a little bit less scientific here, but probably does get it in my opinion. We could use the 12th of June high at 95.52.87. If that does get taken out to the upside, doesn't even need to close above. I'd be looking for that extension to 9,800 region. By the same token, to the downside, a little bit more diabolical here, but I do think that we could actually use maybe yesterday's low at 93.46. At least if that happens, I'd look for another test down to 92.50. I don't feel so confident after that though. You know, perhaps I actually take that back. Instead, I'd be looking for still this low right here, 11th of June, 92.27. To be at that next continuation for the short term. But of course, as far as the high term timeframes go, nothing's changed here. 9,900 to the upside, and then I'm looking at 10.5, 11,000, 11.5. To the downside, still 8,900 on a 12 hour or daily, and then I'd be looking for extension to 81, bounce 75, potential bottom, but very likely bounce, and then the 618 at about 6,900, all correlated with historical areas as well before major breakouts and breakdowns. So I really like that for good confluence. Other than that, more or less the same. I want to wish you well once again. Take care, and until next time.